Breaking news coming in from the front lines.
And it is a big one.
As of right now, Ukraine's Phoenix unit has confirmed a staggering 1,500 enemy personnel hits. And that's just in January.
In a single month. Yeah, it's hard to even process that number.
And get this, they did it in horrific weather. We're talking near zero visibility, freezing fog, temperatures dropping to -15 Celsius.
Conditions where normally everything just stops.
But they detected and destroyed small enemy infantry groups and a crucial UAV control point that was supporting a Russian assault. It is January 28, 2026, and what we're seeing, I think, is a real shift in the physics of war.
It really is. Before we dive into the details, I just want to make a quick appeal to our audience that supports Ukraine and, well, wants to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. Subscribe to Defense Reports. It's your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports.
Trust me, you are not going to want to miss what's coming next.
I'm Alex. Join me with Aria in the latest By Defense Report for a sharp, no-nonsense breakdown of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today we are covering the total transformation of the battlefield in 2026.
And we really aren't just talking about more drone strikes. I mean, that's old news at this point.
Right.
We are documenting the rise of a literal robot army that is holding the line, while a lot of Europe, frankly, is still sleeping.
We have some stories today that they sound like science fiction, but they are happening right now in the mud of the Donbass. We're going to talk about Operation Alphabet.
Oh, this one's amazing.
A single robot that traveled 20 kilometers over that terrain just to wipe out a Russian unit with a payload of mines.
We'll also break down the Bolt M, which is an American AI drone that, well, it might be making the human pilot obsolete.
And maybe the most critical story of all, the Pokrovsk lifeline. We're going to explain how 90% of supplies to a besieged city are now being delivered by robots, not by people.
So our mission today is to really analyze how the Phoenix Regiment and all this new tech are creating what we're calling a transparent battlefield. It's a place where those traditional Russian mass assaults are they're turning into mass casualties.
Okay, let's unpack this. We started with that headline number, 1,500 hits in January. That is a huge number for one unit. But, we hear big numbers all the time in war. Why is this one? Why is it so significant?
It's significant because of the density of loss versus the size of the unit. I mean, the Phoenix unit isn't some massive Army Corps.
It's a regiment.
It's a regiment. For a unit of that size to effectively neutralize multiple battalions worth of infantry in 1 month, it's just unprecedented. But the real story here isn't just the number, it's the condition.
A weather, yeah. You said -15 degrees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who flies a little hobby drone knows that batteries hate the cold. At -15, your lithium-ion capacity drops by half.
Rotors ice up.
Rotors ice up, the aerodynamics change, fog blinds your standard optical sensors. January in eastern Ukraine is usually when the operational tempo slows to a crawl because the machines they stop working.
But the Phoenix unit didn't stop.
No, they actually accelerated. And that implies they're not just using off-the-shelf commercial gear anymore. They've adapted their tech stack to work in conditions that would ground traditional aviation.
So who are these guys exactly?
So this is the Phoenix Separate Regiment of Unmanned Systems. They fall under the State Border Guard Service, and they started as this small, scrappy, tactical group during the Battle of Bakhmut.
Wow, so they cut their teeth in the absolute worst of it.
The worst urban combat imaginable. And because they were so effective at stopping those infantry waves, they got expanded into a full regiment under the Presidential Drone Line project.
Commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Dmytro Oleksiuk.
That's the one, hero of Ukraine. And his leadership style is absolutely key here. He's transitioned them from a unit that just, drops grenades to a unit that conducts these complex, coordinated defensive operations. They're like a firewall.
Let's talk about their highlight reel from this month. It's not just infantry they're hitting. There was a specific incident with a BM-21 Grad MLRS near Kostyantynivka.
Ah, the Grad.
For anyone listening who doesn't know, a Grad is a truck that fires 40 rockets in about 20 seconds. It deletes grid squares.
It's a terror weapon. And usually you try to hit a Grad after it fires because the smoke trail gives away its position. But by then,
the damage is done.
The Phoenix unit intercepted this Grad before it could fire.
And that distinction is everything. That's the difference between avenging casualties and preventing them.
Precisely. They caught it in the setup phase. That probably saved dozens of lives, civilian and military. But I want to highlight another hit that maybe didn't get as many headlines, but is just tactically brilliant. the destruction of the Russian bridge-laying vehicle in Donetsk.
A bridge layer. That sounds kind of boring. Why is that important?
It sounds boring until you're a tank commander staring at a ditch you can't cross. The Russian strategy relies on armored columns moving fast, but the terrain there is full of little rivers, canals, anti-tank ditches. You take out the bridge layer, the one specialized vehicle that can span those gaps, and the entire column behind it grinds to a halt.
And stationary tank is a dead tank.
It's a dead tank. They bunch up, they panic, and then the artillery finishes them off. Taking out that one engineering vehicle probably stopped an entire assault.
There's also some serious irony in their third big win this month. They took out an R-330 Zytel system.
I love this detail. The Zytel is a high-end Russian electronic warfare station. Its whole job, its entire reason for existing, is to jam drone signals and GPS. It's worth millions.
And it was destroyed by a drone.
Destroyed by the very thing it was built to stop.
Okay, so that brings us to the how, because I've been struggling to wrap my head around this. We know Russia has some of the most powerful jamming equipment in the world. They blanket the front line. So how are these Ukrainian drones getting through to kill the jammers themselves?
This is where it gets really, really interesting. We are witnessing what you could almost call a retro-future revolution. We're calling it the wired shift.
Wired? You mean like a literal physical cable?
A literal fiber-optic cable. We have confirmed reports that the Phoenix unit and others are shifting to FPV drones that trail a spool of fiber-optic wire behind them. These spools can be 20, even 60 kilometers long.
But wait a minute, a physical wire? Flying 60 kilometers an hour over forests, ruins, trenches?
Yeah.
How is this cable not snapping on a tree branch 5 seconds after launch?
That is the engineering miracle here. This isn't your grandma's copper wire. It's a specialized micro-thin fiber optic strand, and the key is the spooling mechanism on the drone. It unwinds with effectively zero tension. It doesn't pull the wire just sort of floats out behind it.
Okay, the physics works. But what's the tactical advantage? It sounds really restrictive.
It is restrictive in its flight path. You can't, fly loops or circle a building 3 times. You have to fly more or less point to point. But the advantage is absolute immunity to EW.
Right.
Russian electronic warfare floods the airwaves with noise to drown out the radio signal between the pilot and the drone. But with fiber optics, the signal isn't in the air.
It's inside the wire.
Yeah.
So the jammer is just screaming into the void, and the drone doesn't even hear it.
Completely. You could point the world's most powerful jammer directly at this drone, and the video feed wouldn't even flicker. The pilots are getting crystal clear 4K video right up to the moment of impact. That's how they hit that Zytel system. It couldn't jam its signal that wasn't there.
Wow.
There was that strike on a column of 17 armored vehicles recently. 13 were hit. And one of them, a BMD-2, was confirmed to be blown up specifically by one of these fiber optic drones.
It feels like we've gone back to like World War I field telephones to solve a 21st century problem. But it's not just wires. There's also the silicon brain. We have to talk about the Bolt-M and this whole AI shift.
Right. So while the wire solves the connection problem physically, AI is solving it digitally. And we're seeing the introduction of the Bolt-M drone from the American company Vril. This is very likely being tested in Ukraine right now.
And this is not your hobbyist quadcopter.
No. This is a weapons system. It's got a range over 20 kilometers, 40-minute flight time. But the real game changer is the software. It uses machine vision to lock onto a target.
Okay, when you say lock on, what does the pilot actually do? Is it just point and click?
It's what we call terminal guidance autonomy. The pilot flies the drone to the general area. They see a tank on their screen. They draw a box around it or maybe just tap it. And at that moment, the drone's onboard computer says, okay, I see it, I own it. The pilot can literally put the controller down.
So if the connection cuts out 10 seconds later from jamming or terrain?
The drone doesn't care. It remembers what the target looks like, not just a heat signature, the actual visual pattern. Even if the target moves or pops smoke, the drone calculates the intercept and dives. It's fire and forget.
But Andurils is pitching this as a cost-saving measure, which, that sounds insane. These drones cost, what, $40,000?
Exactly. A standard Ukrainian FPV costs $500. So why buy the $40,000 one? It all comes down to the hit coefficient.
The hit coefficient.
Right now, because of jamming, you might have to launch 10, maybe 15 cheap drones to get one solid hit. The rest just get lost or miss. Anduril's argument is that if one Bolt-M has a 90% success rate, it's actually cheaper than wasting 15 cheap drones and, more importantly, wasting the pilot's time.
Quality over quantity, all powered by AI. Okay, we've covered the air. But what's happening on the ground is, well, it's arguably even more sci-fi.
This is the unspoken revolution. Everyone watches the videos of things blowing up from the sky, but the robot army is literally rolling out on the ground. We have to talk about Operation Alphabet.
This story just, it blew my mind. Tell us about the NC-13 Robotics Strike Company.
So this just happened. They sent a single unmanned ground vehicle, a UGV, on a 20-kilometer trek. That is 12 miles of rough, muddy, cratered terrain.
A robot hiking 12 miles. How does it even navigate that?
Slowly, very carefully. But the point is, it did it without a human risking their life. And it wasn't just going for a walk. It was carrying 12 TM-62 anti-tank mines.
That is a huge payload.
A massive payload. It navigated all the way to a Russian shelter, delivered the mines directly to their position. I mean, it literally drove up to the bunker, dropped the payload, and detonated. Wiped out the entire unit.
That's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But let me play devil's advocate here. We've heard about game changers for years now. Leopards, Abrams, F-16s. Why is a little plastic robot carrying a mine any different? Is this just more hype?
And that is a fair pushback. But the difference is cost and, well, deniability. An Abrams tank needs a logistical tail of 40 people, fuel trucks, mechanics. It costs millions, this robot. It costs less than a used car. It runs on batteries. If it gets blown up, you lose some metal and plastic.
Not a crew.
Not a crew. The key phrase from the commanders was, robots do not bleed. You can send a machine on a one-way mission that you would never, ever order a human to do.
And it's not just about offense. We're seeing this in logistics too, right? In Pokrovsk.
Pokrovsk is the critical sector right now. The Russians are using these creeping infantry tactics, trying to cut off supply lines. It's become a death zone for trucks. If you drive a supply truck to the zero line, you die. So the Ukrainians switched.
I saw the stat. Is it really 90%?
90% of all supplies to the frontline positions in the Pokrovsk sector are now delivered by ground robots. Food, ammo, batteries, water, everything.
And on the way back?
That's maybe the most powerful part of this tech shift. They're using these robots for case of that casualty evacuation. They are physically dragging wounded soldiers out of the kill zone.
That just changes the math of survival completely. Instead of 4 guys risking their lives to carry 1 wounded soldier on a stretcher and maybe creating 5 casualties, a robot does it.
Exactly. And imagine the psychological impact on the soldier on the ground, knowing that even if the shelling is too heavy for a medic to get to you, a machine can still come and get you. That has to boost morale.
We're even seeing robotic sentries now. I read a documented case of a turret-equipped robot that held a frontline position for 45 days, alone.
45 days. Just think about the fatigue of a human soldier. After 3 days with no sleep, you're hallucinating, you're combat ineffective. This machine just sat there for a month and a half. Humans would just crawl out every 48 hours to reload it and swap the battery. Otherwise, the machine held the trench. This is the future.
So let's look at the bigger picture. It's January 2026. We have fiber-optic drones, AI kamikazes, robot supply lines, but when you look at the map, the Russians are still pushing forward.
And that's the harsh reality of this grinding war. If we zoom out, the Russian advances are measured in meters, 15 to maybe 70 meters a day in some sectors, but they are advancing. The cost, though, is just astronomical for them.
And Ukraine has its own very serious problem, specifically with manpower.
It's a crisis. We have to be honest about the data. There are reports of a real shortage of soldiers with huge numbers wanted for evasion or AWOL. The country is exhausted.
So this robot army, it isn't just a cool tech demo, it's a survival strategy.
It's an absolute necessity. They are replacing infantry roles with machines because they physically do not have the infantry to spare. And this brings us to the new defensive doctrine they're using in 2026, this kill zone concept.
Explain that for us. How does that work?
Think of it like an inverted siege. Usually the attacker surrounds the defender. Here, the defender creates a zone where the math of survival is basically impossible. They are denying Russian vehicles any access within 20 to 25 kilometers of the front.
So nothing heavy even gets close.
If a vehicle moves within 25 kilometers, a fiber-optic drone or an artillery shell is coming for it. And closer in, within 1 kilometer, it's an infantry denial zone. That's where the Phoenix unit operates. If you move, a thermal camera sees you. If you are seen, you are hit. They are trying to make the cost of gaining those 70 meters so high that the Russian army just breaks itself.
But robots on the ground need protection from the air. I hear Ukraine is getting some new heavy metal to back this up later this year.
Yes, and this is how it all fits together. We're looking at Swedish Gripens, the CD models, arriving with Meteor missiles. Those have a 200-kilometer range.
Okay, but how do high-tech jets fit into a robot war? It seems like two different worlds.
They're the root. You can't operate a robot army on the ground if Russian jets are dropping glide bombs on your operators. The Gripens and the new Saab 340 AEW&C, which is basically a flying radar, are there to sweep the sky clear.
Ah, so they create a safe bubble for the robots to work in.
Exactly. The flying radar spots the threats, the Gripens push the Russian Air Force back, and that gives the Phoenix units the freedom to operate their drones and ground bots without being obliterated. It's a whole ecosystem.
Plus, we're seeing domestic missile production ramping up. Firepoint's FP7 and FP9 ballistic missiles with ranges up to, what, 855 kilometers?
Right. So while the robots hold the front, these missiles can reach deep and strike the real logistics. It's a complete system designed to break the Russian war machine piece by piece.
It really feels like we were at a pivot point in military history.
Right.
From the Phoenix unit hitting 1,500 people in a month to ground robots delivering mines, the battlefield has just become transparent. There's no place to hide.
There isn't. If you can be seen, you can be killed. And right now, with all these sensors and AI, everything can be seen.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to think about. We've been talking about $500 drones and plastic ground robots taking out T-90 tanks and massive bridge layers.
And it really raises the question, are we seeing the end of the age of armor? We spent 100 years building bigger, heavier tanks with thicker armor. But if a multi-million-dollar tank can be disabled by a piece of plastic and wire flown by a kid in a bunker 20 kilometers away, does it even make sense to build tanks anymore?
That is something to mull over. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Aria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry.
And if you want to stay ahead of the curve on these developments, you know what to do.
To subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.